If you know who I'm talking about, then you got me. My biggest enemy is me, and even I can't stop me. They try to shut us down and it ain't gon' slide. Only thing I fear is God and he on my side. That's the confidence I got, cause he got me. That's why I really feel like you can't stop me.
What is up, folks? My name is Brandon Garcia. I am Coach B, and this is the next podcast. I just want to welcome you guys back. For those of you guys that have been listening, I thank you so much. I appreciate you. As I do more and more of this stuff, guys, it's going to be more and more important that you tell a friend. So as you guys are listening, and if you hear something like, oh yeah, this person needs to share the podcast with them, it helps get our message out. It helps us push our message of positivity, our message of triumph, our message of taking control of your nutrition, taking control of your fitness, and just making life all around better. I am super, super stoked because this week I will be recording my very first ever remote podcasts that you guys will hear in the coming weeks. But I get to record it. I'm doing the interview this week. I'm super, super excited. And the person I'm interviewing, their story is pretty awesome. So, yeah, you're going to want to tune in for that. I will let you guys know when that one drops because I'm really excited to bring that to you. It's a great story, and it's a cool opportunity for me as a techie geek to try something new in this venue. So what I want to do today is, again, I'm going to try and limit myself to about 20 minutes. So I got like 19 left to talk about a question that I actually got. So I am listening. I do hear you. I see the questions coming in, and I am going to address them. And today I'm going to address a listener question, a fan question. And the question was, how do I get faster as a runner? So one of the groups of athletes that I spend a lot of time working with is obstacle racing athletes. OCR is big time. It's becoming more and more popular. It's getting to a point where it's starting to overtake things like 5Ks and 10Ks and half marathons and marathons, because you have the aspect of running, which everybody wants to do because they know they can do it. But it also includes things that like just are more challenging and more fun. It becomes like adult recess almost, right? Climbing over walls and under barbed wire and through mud and swinging from rings and carrying heavy things. It's all super, super fun. Obstacle course racing, OCR. People who do the Spartan race and the Tough Mudder and the Rugged Maniac and the Muck Fest and all of those, and I apologize for terrain race. Terrain race is another one that's really great. People love. So those are fun things. But for the folks that do them for more than just fun, they're trying to do it competitively. They want the competitive edge, right? In anything that we do competitively, we want the competitive edge. And one of the things for obstacle course racing, obviously, is how to run faster, okay? So what I want to do is talk about some of the training techniques that I used with some of my athletes to get them going faster, and what you can do on your own to improve those things, okay? So I'm just going to jump right into this. So the first thing that I want to address is your technique. Okay, if you want to get faster at running, if you want to get better at running, and not even necessarily faster, but better at running, more efficient. If you are somebody who you enjoy running, but your joints hurt after a long run, your knees, your ankles, your back, your shoulders, your neck, your hips, if those things hurt after a run, it's likely because there's a fault somewhere in your technique, right? It's like if you do a deadlift incorrectly or a squat incorrectly or a bench press incorrectly, you're going to, it may only be a small inefficiency in your technique, but over time, over reps, those things start to pile up and cause bigger issues, okay? So when you run, I want you to think about this. When you run, every single step you take is a repetition. So over the course of 400 meters, which is one lap around a track, you're going to have somewhere between 350 and 400 steps, okay, for a quarter mile. That's 350 to 400 repetitions. And if you're doing it wrong, you just did 350 to 400 repetitions incorrectly. Imagine if you did that for a push-up, 350 incorrect push-ups, or 350 incorrect squats, or 350 incorrect deadlifts. You'd end up injured. Same thing is true for running. If you're running incorrectly, eventually you're going to end up injured, no matter how good a shoes you have, or like how awesome your knee brace is, or what, like it doesn't matter. If you're running incorrectly, you're gonna end up hurt. So you need to spend time working on your technique, okay? Now, what does that look like? What does technique actually look like? Good technique, good running technique. There's a fly running around here, little buzzer, okay? Sorry about that. People who watch on YouTube are watching me like try to get this little like gnat. Anyway, sorry guys. So what does good running technique look like? It looks like a technique called pose running, okay? You can go onto YouTube and pose running technique, P-O-S-E, like pose, like strike a pose. Pose running technique has their own YouTube channel to teach you how to run, right? And there's a book, the book that I always recommend for runners that will reteach you how to run well is a book by a guy named Brian McKenzie and TJ Murphy. TJ Murphy is a longtime editor for, I believe, Runner magazine, and then maybe Endurance. I can't remember exactly what the magazine he was an editor for, a writer for. And then Brian McKenzie is the founder of CrossFit Endurance. TJ went out to interview Brian because Brian was applying CrossFit methodology to endurance running, endurance training, and so TJ was kind of skeptical. He went out to interview him and became a kind of a convert, so to speak. And what ended up happening was they got together and wrote this book called The Unbreakable Runner. And so the story in that book is TJ's story of being a long-time distance runner, kind of getting injured, like I said, running with poor technique, ended up getting injured, couldn't really run anymore. And then meeting with Brian, relearning some of these techniques, relearning how to strengthen his body, and then now he's able to run those big distances again like he loved to do. So if you're looking for a great resource, those are two great resources. The Pose Running channel, YouTube channel, and then Unbreakable Runner by TJ Murphy and Brian McKenzie. That book is maybe the best resource that you have out there as far as like not only reteaching you how to run, but giving you the why on why you need to run this way. And then on top of that, giving you a ton of drills that you can do by yourself and identifiable cues on how to make sure you're doing the drills correctly. There's some some great built-in workouts. So that would be my resource for you. What does good running technique actually look like? Well, if you look at the structure of the foot into the ankle, into the calf, into the knee, into the upper leg, into the gluteus, so your butt muscles, and then all the way up your spine, it's all kind of built in a way that your core is there to stabilize your spine. So your back muscles, all your big back muscles, your abs, they all kind of converge to stabilize your spine. But they work in conjunction with your leg muscles. So you're holding your spine in good position to allow your shoulders to move as you run, because you want to have good shoulder movement. And then they stabilize your spine also and your pelvis, so that your hips can move the way they're supposed to. Now, what does that look like? If you come back all the way down to the foot, okay, your foot is essentially built a little bit like a leaf spring on a truck. So if you look at the back end of a truck, okay, just like a normal pickup truck, there's the way the suspension is built is like these things that look like a bow, right? Like a bow and arrow, like a bow, okay? and it scoops down and it's attached to the wheel of the axle, so that when you push down on the truck bed, that spring, it's called a leaf spring, kind of absorbs that loading. Okay, if you look at the bottom of the foot, there's a very similar structure there, and it's built to work like a leaf spring. So when you contact the ground, your foot should spring back off of it. The way you do that is by striking with your forefoot, kind of the pad of your foot. Okay, so or the ball of your foot, right? So if I were to tell you to stand still and hold good posture and now just run in place, when you run in place, you almost intuitively bounce off of the ball of your foot. Okay, or if I told you to bounce like a pogo stick or bounce like you're trying to pretend like you're jump roping, you're going to likely bounce off of the ball of your foot or the pad of your foot. Okay, that's where you want to strike. If you're running and you're reaching out and your heel is hitting first, that's what's causing you injury. Okay, and over time, that will cause you actual injury. You will have joint injury if you're striking with your heel first. It's so hard on your body. Okay, so you want to get to the place where you're teaching yourself how to bounce off the ball of your foot. Okay, and then up your leg. Okay, what actually causes that springing action is your calf muscles. Okay, so your calf muscles aren't necessarily meant to work as pushers so much as they are meant to work as springs. Okay, so it's helping you rebound off of your foot. That rebound then ties into your hamstring, the muscle on the back of your thigh, that pulls your heel up towards your butt. Okay, so your hamstring, that big muscle in the back of your thigh, pulls your heel towards your butt. Okay, so the ball of your foot hits, it causes the spring action through your calf, and then your hamstring pulls your heel up towards your butt so that you can take the next step, and the ball of your foot can land out in front of you, which is where the pose technique comes in. So you hit this specific pose, and then what you're doing is actually falling to the next step. So you're not pushing yourself, you're not pulling yourself, you're falling to the next step, okay? And then when you step forward with the next foot, the ball of your foot lands on the ground, and you continue that over and over and over again. And the ball of your foot should land right underneath your shoulder. So if I lean way, 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 way far forward, the ball of my foot should land right underneath my shoulder. If I lean forward just a little bit, the ball of my foot should land right underneath my shoulder. That's how running is meant to be done most efficiently, okay? So that's the first thing, and it's a big thing. That's why I spent so much time on it. Clean up your technique. Now, if you go to those resources that I gave you and you still can't figure it out, guys, it is worth it to hire a good running coach who's going to teach you that system well, okay? Now, set that aside. What are the drills that you can do to get faster, okay? Or what are some of the things that you can do to get faster? So one of the things is, that I recommend for anybody, whether you're doing like flat out 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons, or if you're doing obstacle racing, is hill sprints. Okay, find a hill, kind of a short hill, one that's maybe 100 to 200 meters long, or find a hill and just mark out 100 to 200 meters. Okay, and what you're going to do is you're going to do sprint repeats. So you're going to sprint as hard as you can up that hill, and then turn around and walk back down, and then do it again, and do it again, and do it again. And you use that descent to kind of rest and recover. And as soon as you get back down there, take a breath or two and turn around and go again. You've got to force yourself to be able to put out high output for extended periods of time. Okay, that's how you get faster. Now, the cool thing about doing hill sprints is leaning into that hill and trying to drive yourself up the hill is going to help you clean up your running technique, because the only way you run uphill is with that ball of foot action. You can't reach out in front of you, that you don't have the opportunity to do that. Okay, so hill sprints are a great technique builder, and it's also a great motor builder. It's going to help you build up that long distance, long-term motor by continuously adding more and more hill sprints. Okay, make the hill really steep, make it kind of scary steep, make it difficult. And then sprint as hard as you can up that hill, turn around, come back down, and sprint as hard as you can up the hill, turn around, come back down. Start with 4 to 6 hill sprints. It's not you don't have to do a ton, and build yourself up to where you could do 20 or 30 consecutive hill sprints and still be okay, and time yourself too. Can you make your 15th, your 20th, your 30th hill sprint the same speed as your first one, your second one, your third one, your fourth one? So hill sprints is another great way to build that ability to really push through and get good speed. Okay. The other thing to do is cadence drills. Okay, so if you take off on a run, just a normal run, pay attention to how often your foot hits the ground. Okay, and just kind of like start finding a rhythm for that, and that's called cadence, right? How many times your foot hits in a minute. Okay, and then what you do is you take a look at that and you say, okay, I need to set a cadence of X steps per minute. So right now I'm doing, let's just say you're doing 60 steps a minute. Okay, if I want to get faster, I need to get faster at my cadence, which means now I need to go download like a metronome app and set the metronome at 70 beats per minute. And my feet have to hit the ground. Every time that metronome clicks, you've got to your foot has to hit the ground, right? That's how you're going to get your foot speed faster. Part of getting faster means that you've got to have faster foot speed. So you use a metronome app and you use cadence drills. So you say for the next quarter mile, I'm going to run at, if I run at 60 steps per minute, the next quarter mile, I'm going to run at 70 steps per minute, or I'm going to run at 80 steps per minute, or whatever that looks like. You need to progress yourself into a faster foot speed, a faster cadence, which means you're going to have to lean a little bit harder into if you're using that really good pose technique, you're going to have to lean a little harder so that you're going a little bit faster and you're pushing your foot cadence, okay? And then you do bursts like that. I'm going to do this for a minute, or I'm going to do this for a quarter mile. And then you give yourself a specific amount of rest, okay? When you start something like that, you give yourself a 1 to 3 work to rest ratio. So you work really hard for 1 minute. Then you give yourself 3 minutes of recovery, okay? And then over time, you work yourself to the reverse of that, where you're going 3 minutes of hard work to 1 minute of rest, okay? So you go from 1 to 3 to maybe 1 to 2, and then you go to 1 to 1, and then you go to 2 to 1, and then you go to 3 to 1. You build yourself that direction, okay? That's how you're going to get better endurance at keeping that quicker cadence and quicker step, okay? It's all about utilizing good technique first, and then once you have learned that really good technique, now we need to start upping your speed ability by doing hill sprints and cadence drills, okay? The next step in this, though, guys, is as runners, I know you love running, and I know that you probably choose running because you don't specifically like lifting weights, probably because you're not very good at it, and that's okay. But if you want to get faster, you have to lift weights. I can't sugarcoat that in any way, shape, or form. You have to lift weights if you want to get faster. That is just the bottom line. And you've got to do things like really good deadlifts and really good squats, okay? Back squats and front squats. Really good conventional deadlifts, and then throw in some sumo deadlifts, okay? You don't need to get super fancy and do like this crazy, one-legged, stiff-legged Romanian deadlift with a dumbbell on a Bosu ball. You don't need to be fancy. You need to be strong, okay? You need to get really good at deadlifts and squats, okay? Those two things will make you faster. Why? Because if you look at the front of your body, those are what I call show muscles. Your six-pack, your quads, your pecs, your biceps, those are all really good-looking muscles, right? Those are the ones we like to look at in the mirror. If you flip to the back of your body, those are your go muscles, okay? Your calves, your hamstrings, and your glutes, okay? Those 3 muscles are your go muscles. You train those by doing deadlifts and squats, and a lot of them. And you do them heavy, okay? You can't do, like, if you're a 150-pound person and you never do a squat that's more than 150 pounds, you're not going to get as strong as you need to be to get faster like you want to be faster. You have got to do heavier squats. You have to, okay? Do you have to do super, super heavy squats all the time? No, but you do need to lift more than your body weight on a regular basis. That's how you're going to get stronger to get faster in your run, okay? Same thing with deadlifts. You need to be able to work to a place in your deadlift specifically, okay? You need to be able to deadlift double your body weight. That's your goal. That's where you need to go. You need to be able to deadlift double your body weight, and preferably double your body weight 4 reps, okay? You need to be able to lift double your body weight, not just once, but multiple times. That's where you're going to have the hamstring strength to do what you need to do to get faster. On your back squat, at minimum, you should be able to back squat your body weight, and you should be able to back squat your body weight for somewhere between 15 to 20 unbroken reps, guys. That's where you're going to have the glute strength, the quad strength, the hamstring strength, the core stability to sustain speed over time. Those are that's the kind of lifting that you need to do. You also need to take really good care of your shoulders, doing overhead presses, getting something like a crossover symmetry that will take care of your rotator cuffs, okay? Doing those things are going to build the musculature around your skeleton to hold it stable. Like back squats and deadlifts, they incorporate a ton of core stability so that now when I take off on a run, I have really good core stability to run fast. If you don't have good core stability, you can't stabilize the rest of your skeleton to handle those high speed loads, okay? So just stepping back through this. 1, clean up your technique. Spend a ton of time getting your technique dialed in. If you have crappy technique, you're going to stay slow and you're going to end up injured. Clean up your technique, you'll get faster and you'll have less injuries. And here's the thing, if you use good technique, you can actually run faster for longer because you're using less energy. Good technique is more efficient, okay? Number 2, you need to do speed drills, things like cadence drills and hill sprints, okay? That's going to give you some exposure to some stimulus that you're not necessarily always used to, and it's going to build up your tolerance for those higher speeds, okay? Work from a 1 to 3 work to rest ratio to go 1 to 3 to 1 to 2 to 1 to 1, and now you flip it over and you go 2 to 1 work to rest, and then 3 to 1 work to rest, okay? You got to build yourself over time. And then the other thing you need to incorporate, and you need to incorporate, in fact, it's almost more important than the cadence work and the hill sprint work, which is lifting heavy weights, okay? You've got to get your hamstrings stronger, you've got to get your glutes stronger, and you do that with heavy deadlifts and heavy squats on a regular basis, okay? Other than that, guys, running is about breath control, especially long distance running, okay? Controlling how much oxygen is coming in and out of your system. And then it's all mental, right? It's grit. It's, I want to run a 7-minute mile, which means I need to set the cadence and set the pace and just push through the hurt. Like if you want to get faster, that's kind of part of it, is you've got to push through the hurt, okay? Now, I'm coming up on time. I don't want to, bore you guys to death because I could talk about this all day because I geek out about this stuff. But those are the 3 big things. Clean up your technique, do some sprints and cadence work, and do some heavy weightlifting, deadlifts and squats. You don't have to get complicated. Keep it simple. Regular conventional deadlifts, regular conventional back squats. Make sure you're using good technique on both. If you don't know what good technique on those is, you need to hire a really good trainer or a really good coach to teach you those things. It is worth the money, okay? If you guys have questions about what I just talked about, or questions in general about how to get better at something in the fitness or nutrition realm, I would love to help you with that. The other thing too, guys, is I'm starting to coach people on just getting hold of their day, scheduling out their day and being disciplined through their day. If you need help with that, I would love to help you with that. Okay, if you have questions about that. This podcast, the next podcast, Nutrition, Exercise, and Triumph, is about winning at life, nutrition, and exercise. So as you guys have questions, send them in. Other than that, guys, I will see you guys next week. And like I said, I'm really excited for our next podcast. That's funny, because it's going to be with my very first remote guest. So thank you guys for listening. Have a great week, and I'll catch you next time.
If you know who I'm
Later,
talking
later.
about, then you got me. My biggest enemy is me, and even I can't stop me. They try to shut us down, and it ain't gon' slide. Only thing I fear is God, and He on my side. That's the confidence I got, 'cause He got